Welcome to another video on learning Lightroom. I've been asked by several people if I could make a video showing the workflow of an image edit from start to finish. So here it is, and I hope you'll find it useful. In this video I'd like to show you editing in the basic panel of the develop module. Now I have here an image that I took while visiting Gibraltar a few years ago. Now it was a cracking sunset, but sadly the final image really doesn't reflect this. It's underexposed in the foreground and what looks like a little bit of clipping going off here in the highlights. Now for all intents and purposes this is probably a bin shot, but let's see what we can do with it to see if we can improve it. First, let's have a look at some global adjustments. So here we are in the basic panel. I'll just scroll down so you can see them a little bit better. And we'll start off with the shadows. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and lighten the shadows a little bit. If I take that right over to 100, it does give us a little bit of lightening in this area in the background, which is I want. And we'll try probably a little bit of blacks as well, just to lighten it a little bit. I think I've dealt a little bit with that underexposure. Now I think that looks better, but the adjustments we've made have really flattened out the image a little bit. So let's see if we can add a little bit of contrast back by using the contrast slider. We'll just pull that over to the right just to increase the contrast a little bit. And we'll try a little bit of the presence with the clarity. We'll pull that over a little bit just to give it a little bit more pop. And I think that looks good. Let's just have a look at the before and after. And we can do that by pressing the / key. So that's where we started. That's where we are now. Or if we press the Y key, we can get a side-by-side quick preview of before and after. And yeah, I think we're going in a good direction. So I'll press the Y key again just to get us back to one image, and then we're off again. Now as I remember it, the yellow from that setting sun was much stronger. So let's see if we can help that with a little bit of saturation. Now to give me a little bit of help, what I've done is I've switched on the clipping indicator, and this is this little triangle up here in the histogram. If I click it, it will turn on and off the clipping. And this clipping is indicated by this red overlay here, and this is areas that have blown out to complete white. Now I'm going to go down and just see if we can tweak that saturation a little bit. And I think, yeah, I think that looks a lot better. And we can see here that we've still got a little bit of clipping going off. So what I need to do is get over to the highlight slider and just pull that highlight slider over. So that's removed the clipping a little bit, and it's also added a little bit of drama to this sky over here, which I'm quite pleased with. Okay, now the buildings here in the mid distance. I'd like them to stand out a little bit more. Now for that I need an adjustment, but this time not a global one, but a local one. So I'm going to go up here to the toolbar and I'm going to pick the adjustment brush by clicking on this icon here, or I can press K on the keyboard. Now I'm not going to go into detail on how to use this tool here. If you want to know more, jump over and watch my video, episode 3, local adjustments and the adjustments brush, and that will fill in any details for you. So okay, in this particular image what I always do is put a little bit of positive exposure in. Now this is just so I can see where I'm painting. I can change the brush size with the square brackets to do it on the fly, and I'm just going to paint around and in these buildings. You can see how it's lightening it up as I go. And once I've got that done, I can then start adjusting the sliders. So to just bring out those buildings just a little bit, and maybe a little bit of colour with a little bit of saturation. I think that looks good. Although I think what I'll try as well is a little bit of clarity, just to make those buildings pop a little bit. That's better. Okay, next I think I'll try and enhance that sunset a little bit more. And for this I'm going to use a new adjustment. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to click on new. And again, I'll just paint, I'll leave that positive adjustment in, and I'll just paint a little bit around the area that I want to change. And so just round there. And I think I can try maybe just moving this temperature slider a little bit over towards the right, and that's just going to pull out those colours a little more. Like that. It's also giving me a little bit of clipping, and I'm going to try and get rid of that by moving the highlight slider down a little bit. That's better. I'm liking this as we're going. Let's have a quick look before and after by pressing the Y key, and I think we're going in a very good direction here. Okay, Y key again. Now this is looking much more like the scene that I viewed when I took the picture, and a massive improvement on the straight out to the camera version. Okay, well next is the water. I think the water's a little bit dull looking, and it was a lot bluer than that in actual fact. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up and we're going to have a new adjustment with the adjustment brush. Again, leave that positive exposure on so I can see where I'm painting, and I'm just going to paint in where that C area is. Right, when that's done, I can take that exposure off if I like, but I'll just leave a tiny bit on. And I can try now the temperature slider, and I'll skew that towards blue a little bit. And that's looking reasonably better. But if I can't get the blue I like, let's try and add a colour blue. So I'll go down to the colour swatch, click on the colour swatch, we'll click in a nice blue colour, just somewhere over in that direction. I think that's looking good. Okay, we'll accept that, and then we'll go back up and we'll just add maybe a little bit of clarity. That should bring that yellow through a little bit more, maybe a little bit of saturation, and possibly we'll just tweak the exposure a little bit just to lighten it up a little bit. Okay, final thing I'd like to do is try and lighten this area up in the foreground just a little bit. So again, back up, new adjustment. Again, I'll leave that positive, and I'll just paint in this foreground area with a little bit of positive exposure. I think that's a bit too much, so I'm going to go and adjust it now and just drop it down a little bit, just to give us that little bit of a lift in that foreground. Well, press the Y key, look at the before and after. I think we've come a long way, and I think that image now is looking more like the image that I did take. Well, that's the power of using the basic panel and tools in the develop module of Lightroom. I hope that was useful. Now before I go, could I ask a favour? If you found this video helpful, please share it to all your friends, and look on my YouTube channel, Live Link Training, for other videos on Photoshop, Lightroom and photography. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.